Yes, I think it must end badly, but I don't know when.
It could bring us into a new dark age.
The Google search, when is the housing market going to crash, spiked 2,450% in the past month.
As I've been saying, an extremely heavy straw on a very weak camel's back.
Irritating bubble. It's just that the investment banking profession will sell shit as long as shit can be sold.
I have some bad news, and then I have some worse news.
I've just finished listening to The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel on Audible after several people recommended this one to me, and I enjoyed it all, but one chapter in particular really did strike a chord, and I wanted to share the big idea from that chapter with you today and add in some of my own thoughts and color to help you when it comes to negative media coverage and media consumption in general. It's chapter 17. It's called The Seduction of Pessimism. But before I dive into that, let me provide some context and explain the problem I want to address today. First off, when I set my money resolution back in 2018 and committed to turning my financial life around, I knew I needed to immerse myself in the topic, just world of personal finance. I was essentially attempting to DIY my money from scratch. I knew that I didn't know what I didn't know, if that makes sense. Money has always been my blind spot, so I was determined to dive in head on and aggressively. The good news is there was so much great free information out there. I started with library books, classics like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Automatic Millionaire, and The Simple Path to Wealth. I listened to podcasts when walking the dog or doing chores. I watched documentaries, and even when I was relaxing and just trying to enjoy some entertainment, I tried to keep it in the world of personal finance, like a rags to riches story, something like Shark Tank or Pursuit of Happiness, anyone? Plus, of course, lots and lots of YouTube, mainly Stephan, who was starting to blow up at the time. And over lunch, or when I had a few minutes, I would turn to articles from blogs I discovered and bookmarked, and of course, what was in the news. My favorite news app was Google News, and that's because it basically customizes a news feed for you based on, I have to assume, your browsing history and interest. My Google News feed became almost 100% finance news and education. Fantastic. I remember saving so many articles and learning so much. I saved and referred back to those articles to cite as sources in my first book, The Money Resolution. I couldn't get enough. It was like my Google newsfeed knew I was a man on a mission and we were simpatico. This brings me back to today's topic because my rose-colored glasses with the media's reporting on financial news has unfortunately completely shifted since. I noticed a change in my YouTube feed and Google News app, and not for the better, and the Psychology of Money book helped me identify this. Of course, 2020 was an insane year on so many levels, and the news did certainly reflect this. A lot of the reporting was necessary and needed. Some of it led to positive change, so I'm not here just to bash the media, but I am here to hopefully help you develop a more healthy relationship with finance news consumption by spotting this negative trend and why it happens. This trend that has me so fired up today is what I'm gonna call, for lack of a better term, the sky is falling reporting. Let's discuss what this is, why it happens, why it works, and then I'll provide some tips to help you either avoid this type of information or at least help you keep your blood pressure lower when you do engage with the sky is falling finance news reporting. So what it is relatively straightforward to explain. It's extreme, speculative, often biased, and not founded in fact finance news. If it is rooted in any facts, it cherry picks what it wants and misleads to prove their point, and it's intended to sensationalize any topic. The goal, of course, is to drive eyeballs and control our attention, but this type of reporting is extremely damaging on so many levels, and that's what's got me so fired up to discuss this today. A really good example of this is a video that went viral the other week. It's this one on screen about the pending housing crash. And I have to admit, I watched this video and it was extremely effective. It was also discouraging as someone looking to buy in a really difficult market right now. In it, the news reporter gave a long rant about a specific house somewhere in Texas, I can't remember, and how much it sold for. It had 80 something offers and it's hardly even livable in its current condition, as you can see. A bidding war ensued, which sounds terrible on a near teardown, but meet Kevin, bless you for this one, he broke that video and house down in a reaction video of his own. And during his video, he showed exactly why that house sold for $450,000 or whatever it went for. It's because of the location of that house. Houses in that same neighborhood that were recently updated sold for around $850,000, I think. I'm reciting this from memory. If someone went in and remodeled this exact house, this rundown house, even if they put $200,000 into it, the buyer would still have a healthy profit of $150,000 or more. His reaction video made me completely rethink that entire video that I had watched a week prior, a video that had me very discouraged and depressed about my housing situation, or lack thereof. And it made me think, why did I click on that video in the first place if I knew this was nothing but bad news? It's because of the seduction of pessimism. Another YouTuber I love and mentioned already is Stephan. His information and videos are always useful, just incredible stuff and insights. Even his reaction videos have become pretty nice and offer just lots of great advice, but even he understands the seduction of pessimism, as Morgan Housel calls it in chapter 17 of his book. I mean, look at these thumbnails on screen and the titles. Like, how could you not click on these? Now, in Graham's defense, he has some warning videos, but even the most extreme titles are rooted in deep research, and he offers a positive spin and helpful advice. But the pessimism implied from a huge chunk of his thumbnails is seductive, and it works extremely well for him. So, why does the seduction of pessimism work? This is finally where the psychology of money comes into play. So he says, pessimism isn't just more common than optimism, it also sounds smarter. It's intellectually captivating and it's paid more attention than optimism, which is often viewed as being oblivious to risk. Optimism is a belief that the odds of a good outcome are in your favor over time, even when there will be setbacks along the way. These people wake up in the morning trying to make things a little better and more productive. Tell someone that everything will be great, and they're likely to shrug you off or offer a skeptical eye. Tell someone they're in danger, and you have their undivided attention. Say we'll have a big recession, and newspapers will call you. Say we're headed for average growth, and no one particularly cares. Say we're nearing the next Great Depression, and you'll get on TV. But mention that good times are ahead, or that markets have room to run, or that a company has huge potential, and a common reaction from commentators and spectators alike is that you are either a salesman or comically aloof of risk. The investing newsletter industry has known this for years and is now populated by prophets of doom, despite operating in an environment where the stock market has gone up 17,000-fold in the last century, including dividends. He goes on to explain the idea that our obsession with pessimism may be an evolutionary trait and that losses loom larger than gains. Organisms that treat threats as more urgent than opportunities have a better chance to survive and reproduce. The other reason we all pay attention to negativity is that money is ubiquitous, meaning it affects us all. Money and health are the two topics that impact all of us, but health is individual for the most part. A recession could impact every single person though, including you, so pay attention. Stocks rising 1% might be briefly mentioned by the media, but a 1% fall will be reported in bold letters, usually in blood red. And we create stories about the why behind it and what's likely to happen next. They make it really easy for us to worry, even if you don't own stocks. And finally, he covers the Great Depression, and I didn't know this, but only 2.5% of Americans own stocks on the eve of the stock market crash, but the entire country watched in amazement at that collapse, worried about how it was going to impact their own lives. So even though the fall only afflicted a small percent of Americans immediately, most of America suddenly stopped their economic activity. This only summarizes the first half of chapter 17, so I didn't spoil anything, and that chapter is one of 20. If this book has caught your interest, by the way, from this little recap, I will link to it in the description down below. I'll also include my free Audible trial link so that you can get started with listening today for free. I'm not 100% sure if they're still offering this when you watch this, but when I signed up recently for my free trial, I received 2 free audiobooks from Audible that I could download and keep forever, even if I canceled. This book was one of them. I'm gonna detour here just for a moment before I get to my final thoughts on all of this and some takeaways. I was talking to my fiance the other day about my channel here and how I wanna make it unique or different, what it is now and what I want it to be. And I kept repeating this phrase: I wanna build a positive community. I've been just so impressed and motivated by the positivity that a lot of you bring, and hopefully that's because I'm bringing it here as well. I do consider myself an optimist for sure. I've said this before and I wasn't joking. I read every comment, but I read all the positive ones twice. In fact, I recently started building a positivity board, and I actually totally recommend you consider doing the same thing. I screenshot some of my favorite comments or emails, and I put them all in one place so that I can flip through it when I'm feeling, a bit unmotivated or uncreative, and it really does help. So there's a fun, actionable takeaway for you. I especially recommend, by the way, a positivity board for teachers and coaches. I still have all the cards and notes that I got from students, athletes, and parents from my years in the classroom, and I'm never gonna get rid of them. You have no idea how much it makes my day when any of you say that they learned something new, or my video was super helpful, or changed the way that they see something. Some of you have discussed even feeling motivated to start their own YouTube channel or get started with a Roth IRA, and that kind of stuff gets me fired up and motivated and just extremely optimistic. I haven't retired early, and that is my goal, but I wanna work hard now so that I can earn my time and freedom back. And I wanna share it all here and hopefully inspire and help others to do the same thing. I'm trying to build a positive community of people who are resolved to get good with money together. This channel has always been about positivity, and it always will be. All right, to start my final thoughts and actionable takeaways here, my point today is to avoid negative news and clickbait headlines. Avoid negative Nellies in general. Surround yourself with positivity and positive people instead. The sky is never falling because you are in control of your life. Engage with negative news if you want to see both sides, but remember to ask yourself, whose interest is at stake? Is it the news actually trying to responsibly help anyone that will listen with these honest, ominous warning signs? Or is it the attention-seeking media trying to drive traffic and hit numbers and goals so that they can grab market share and be profitable at all cost? Are they using the seduction of pessimism against you? Now, of course, I'm not saying all negative reporting or bad news is false and shameful. Some of it can be very useful. It was very useful at times throughout 2020 when it came to the pandemic and spreading the message that Black Lives Matter. They very, very much do, by the way. I'm simply saying a lot of it is extreme and exaggerating when it comes to finance and the economy. And with so many, unfortunately, financially illiterate in this country, because we don't teach this stuff in school, it can cause a lot of harm. It does damage psychologically and otherwise. People make mistakes with their money when they're emotional. This sensationalized reporting causes anxiety and gets in the way of our decision making, but I'm here to say, keep a level head. Create a plan and stay the course. Don't stress about the ups and downs of the market or the always looming next big economic crash or the second big housing crash. Stay focused, stay positive, and you will be successful. Pessimism is seductive. It might even be an inherited biological trait that forces us to give merit to bad news more than good news, but, and call me crazy for this if you want, you know what's better than pessimism about your life and your money? Optimism. Positive things happen for positive people. Garbage in, garbage out, but positive in, positive out. Do that enough and positive wealth will head your way. On that note, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you to subscribe so that we can hang out and talk positivity more often. My name is Frankie. You're awesome for hearing me out till the end today. Drop some positivity down in the comments below. And if you're not sure what to say, just drop a fire emoji and I'll actually send you 2 back. Have an awesome week or weekend ahead, and I'll see you, friend, in a few days on the next one. Thanks. Last thing here, if you have any examples of things that you saw in the media, some overly sensationalized headlines or anything like that, tell me about it in the comments down below because I could use a good chuckle. Other than that, check out one of these 2 videos next. See ya. Thanks.
We'll sell shit as long as shit can be sold.